Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Comedian Aries Spears cracks up the DC Improv tonight through Sunday. He called in to discuss his stand-up comedy career, as well as hilarious appearances on MADtv and Jerry Maguire. Aries Spears, hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, brother.
Now, we're talking because you are going to be coming to the DC Improv, legendary spot. Do you have any history with that spot? I mean, so many legendary comedians have come through there.
I've been doing it now for the last, I want to say like 5 years. But it's probably one of my top 5 favorite spots to do.
And why is that? The intimacy of it, the history, why is that?
A little bit of everything. When you do the road for as long as I've done it, there's a lot of spots you go to where, some of the boxes get checked in terms of what you love and others don't get checked. But everything just comes together so perfectly in that area. The nightlife is great. The hotel is amazing. The intimacy of the club is great. The history, the audience attendance record, the energy, the pay, like everything's just perfect.
Oh, it's a really cool spot to do it. Glad you're bringing some comedy back to people because the last 2 years have been like hell. Does the pandemic life and does all that make its way into the comedy routine?
It does a little bit. I mean, you obviously kind of have to address the elephant in the room, but and then after that, you kind of go back to the normal swing of your routine.
Definitely. And so what other stuff are you going to tackle? I don't want you to bury any punchlines, obviously, but what do we got? Family, we could do any DC politics stuff. I mean, what sort of areas do you go into with your jokes?
I'm a buffet of comedy, man. So there's a little bit of everything.
Are we going to get to hear any of your famous impressions?
A few. I got some things cooking and brewing, and some of it obviously is done by request. So it depends on what the audience gives me.
Is there anyone with you right now on the phone, or is it just Aries? Like, is Denzel there?
Oh, it's just Aries, brother. I hate doing impressions over the phone because they never sound as good as when you do them as in studio.
Right. Well, after you listen to this, hop on YouTube and check out some of Aries Spears' best impressions. Well, maybe instead of you actually having to do them now, because I know it doesn't sound as good, but tell me about some of your favorite ones to do. Like, is there one that people ask you to do the most? Is it after that LL and, the whole DMX video? That thing blew up.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their favorites. It so varies. People who yell out Denzel, Charles Barkley, Shaq, Paul Mooney. So, everybody's kind of got their favorite one. My favorite right now to do, though, because it's so new, is Dennis Rodman and Tony Soprano.
Do you ever have them talking to each other?
No, I don't get that crazy. It's still a solo sport.
Right, exactly. Well, what about the Dennis Rodman? I mean, it almost self-explanatory. That dude is wild. What about that makes it so much fun to do?
It's new. Anytime you do somebody new, it's like a new toy on Christmas.
Well, cool. Well, whenever I have someone on, I love to hear sort of your journey. Where did you actually, how did you actually get going? I know you were born in Chicago, in like 75, but what was like your comedy heroes growing up?
Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, all those guys, man, some of the greats.
Absolutely. And then when did you actually start taking it serious yourself? Like you might have, you loved comedy as a fan of it, as Eddie Murphy and those guys, but when would you say was your first, break? Was your first one in Harlem, Uptown Comedy Club?
No, it was Def Comedy Jam. I did Def Jam when I was like 16 years old. So I started when I was 14. So that was kind of like my first big break. Okay,
gotcha. And then you did Showtime at the Apollo after that, and then you moved out to LA, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's it like doing those early days in stand-up? Like what was sort of your bread and butter back then? Were you doing the impressions at that time? How did you sort of make it?
Impressions. But then as I kept, going throughout the years and putting in more time and more work, I didn't want to just be a one-trick pony. So, I really studied comedy in all its different aspects and to become a more well-rounded comic, you have to kind of touch on everything.
Yeah, definitely. And what we've all loved, fans of yours have loved that you've even transitioned onto the screen. Like, for instance, you're behind Cuba Gooding Jr. in that Oscar-winning role in Jerry Maguire, and you're in the background during a lot of those famous scenes. So how much fun was shooting that with Cameron Crowe?
Hey, man, that was a $50 million movie, so it was great.
They showed you the money?
No, they didn't show me the money, but they showed me the experience.
Right. Yeah. It was all around you on the set. well,
Exactly.
well, that's really cool. And what was your character's name? It was TP, right?
Yep.
Man, that was just great. It must be any cool stories from being a fly on the wall, getting to see that up close.
Not really, because my part wasn't that big. So, I came to work, hung out in my trailer, hung around on the set, and just got going when the camera said action.
Right. God, you've been in so much stuff. We would really be here all day if I went through all your roles, but I'm just gonna cherry pick a couple. Like, what was it? You did a guest spot on A Different World too, wasn't that? Was that like your first like scripted TV thing? Not a comedy, like a Def Comedy Jam, but was A Different World your first time like in front of the cameras?
Yeah. I grew up watching A Different World, so to be a part of it was kind of surreal. And when you get on set and you see people like Kim Whitley and what's the guy's name? The guy that played Kadeem Hardison and all those guys. It's kind of a surreal moment.
And I guess, I mean, most famously, I think probably, I mean, we remember your big stint on MADtv, which to me was right. I mean, everyone talks about In Living Color and SNL, of course, and then Chappelle Show after, but MADtv, man, was crushing it. Remind our listeners what were some of the famous sketches you did on there that were your favorites?
Bobby and Whitney, anytime we would do Shaq. I was a fan more of a lot of everybody else's stuff, Deborah Wilson, Mo Collins, Will Sasso, Michael McDonald. But yeah, it was just like a big fun fraternity.
Yeah, definitely. Aren't you either the longest or maybe the second longest running cast member on there, right?
Yeah, I was there for 8 years.
Well, just in closing, why should folks come on out to DC Improv? What gets them out there?
It's a great time. 7 shows, Thursday through Sunday. It's small. It's intimate. My style of comedy is uncut cocaine. Let's get it in.
All right, sounds good. Aries Spears, thanks so much.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.